Guys, welcome to another video for Anatomy and Physiology. In this video, I want to take a look at a particular injury that actually happened last week, but there's been an update on it because of something that happened this last weekend. So in week one of the NFL season, the quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers, I was about to say San Diego Chargers, but the Los Angeles Chargers, Tyrod Taylor sustained an injury where he had cracked ribs. Now, we don't know exactly which ribs it was that were cracked, but what we do know is that he still had residual pain this week from what happened last week, and so something interesting happened this week. So if you can just imagine now, so you're an NFL quarterback, right? Just try to imagine that. And so what happened? Tyrod Taylor went up to the coin toss, and he started experiencing a lot of discomfort. He was actually experiencing a lot of it beforehand, but it got to the point where he couldn't take it anymore, and he actually had to have himself scratched from the NFL game. And at that point, the second string quarterback was told, "Hey, you're starting your first NFL." And this is a rookie, uh, Justin Herbert, I think was his name, and so he was told, "You're going to start right now," like at that moment. So he didn't have any time to prepare, at least not like a starter. And just like that, he went on the field and he had to perform at his first NFL game that way. And so I want to talk a little bit about what happened to Tyrod Taylor because it's really interesting. So before we get into his injury, actually what that injury is called, I'm just going to say it's called a pneumothorax. Pneumo meaning breath, and then the thorax referring to the fact that it happened in the thoracic area. Okay, so the thoracic area is your rib cage area. All right. And so, as you know, your lungs are protected by your ribs along with other important organs like your heart and such. But one of the things that's not as well known is all the different accessories that are involved in breathing. So, for example, we talked about your diaphragm in the previous video. Now, one of the things that we didn't talk about that help a lot in breathing is your external intercostals. Okay, so intercostals meaning inside or in between your ribs. Okay, and now you also have other muscles that help you breathe. So, just imagine breathing right now. All these different muscles that are at work and you didn't realize before. You have your sternocleidomastoids, you have your scalenes, okay, your pectoralis major, and your serratus anterior. Okay, now I know speaking for myself, I've injured both of these before, and it is incredibly painful to breathe when you have a major injury to any of those muscles. So in any case, going back to Tyrod Taylor's injury, so he was going to receive, or he received, a pain injection inside of his ribs to kind of block that pain that he had in his ribs. And this particular type of injection is called an intercostal nerve block. Okay, intercostal nerve block. So let's take a look at the actual nerve. All right, so what I have here is a visual of the thoracic cavity, and I have highlighted the nervous system. This is the peripheral nervous system. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. All right, I'm going to highlight a couple of these nerves and we'll take them out of the way. Okay, like this one, for example, this is your lateral pectoral nerve. I'm going to get rid of that because that's more of a surface nerve, and the medial pectoral, let's get rid of that. All right, so what we want to do is we want to take a look and we want to find one of those intercostal nerves because this is where the injection is going to go. It's going to go in through the skin, through the fatty tissue, the subcutaneous fatty tissue, through the muscle, and right at the nerve, and that's where you want to inject the pain killing or the pain blockage medication. And so you want to get right close to one of these nerves. So now we don't know exactly which one of Tyrod Taylor's ribs was cracked. Let's just go ahead and assume it's the fourth rib here. Okay, so let's just assume that the pain is located in this area. So we're going to remove the fourth rib just so you can see how close. And here it is. Here's the fourth. This is your T4 spinal nerve, okay? And you can see every one of the ribs has an accompanying nerve just below and posterior to it, okay? And so that's where the pain medication is going to go. It's going to be a localized anesthetic, so it kills the pain at that point, and he can go on and play. So with this particular, I already mentioned the name of it, intercostal nerve block. Now, typically these types of injections happen for people who have what is it called, shingles. Okay, herpes zoster. So shingles, so that skin, the skin lesions and the really bad rash that people will get, and so that'll kind of numb the pain so they can kind of go about their day. Now, or also people who have Tyrod Taylor's ailment, like a cracked rib or something, or severely pulled muscle there, intercostal muscle. And so one of the problems with this, okay, is that, well, let me show you a little bit more anatomy so you can see what a potential problem is with this and exactly what happened to Tyrod Taylor. So taking away the nervous system and seeing and knowing that so your nerve actually travels right along these arteries and these veins just below and behind the ribs, the rib cage. So as you can see here, now this actually doesn't do it justice. No, that's the lung that I just highlighted. But like I said, this image doesn't do it justice because the distance between these features and the nerve that would travel right here and the lungs is almost microscopic. So it wouldn't be that difficult for a doctor to accidentally inject and push the needle in too far. And that's exactly what happened with Tyrod Taylor just before the game, just before his game this past Sunday. The doctor accidentally punctured one of Tyrod Taylor's lungs. Now, actually, technically, now we don't know all the details because, of course, his medical history is going to be, confidential for the most part. And we only know this because of the injury report that the LA Chargers put out. So we don't know the exact details. We don't know the severity of the collapsed lung or the pneumothorax. We just know that he had complications. Now, one of the things that could have happened is that the needle could have not punctured the lung, go all the way into the lung necessarily, but it could have punctured so there's a couple of layers. One layer that's directly attached to the lung, and then the other layer that's attached to the thoracic surface. So these are called your parietal layer, the parietal layer, and then the visceral layer. The visceral layer is the one that's actually directly attached to the lung, and these are two layers that allow the lung. In between those layers, there's something called surfactant. We talked about the surfactants in the previous video, and that's essentially the lubrication. Think of an engine when to keep a car running good, you're always doing oil changes. So the oil is like a lubricant allowing moving parts to rub against each other. Likewise, in this case, the surfactant allows the ribs or allows the lungs to expand and kind of like glide on the thoracic cage, if you will. So the lungs can expand and contract. Now, here's the thing. The lungs are allowed to expand and contract, but as they go down, they don't completely deflate like a balloon. Like just imagine a balloon completely deflating and just balling up. If it did that, then we would die. We wouldn't be able to get air inside, and it's incredibly difficult for think about how difficult it is to reinflate the balloon and how much force you have to push out. So it's kind of like that. And so Tyrod Taylor was experiencing a lot of pain and discomfort, and he couldn't breathe, and so they had to sit him out. And most likely they probably had to put a chest tube inside of his rib cage to get to remove the air that was trapped in there, causing his lung to collapse, causing the pneumothorax. Okay, and so as we mentioned before in the previous video, that the surfactant is produced by type 2 alveolar cells, and so man, I can only imagine. It's such a crazy story that I had to post this, especially in relation to what we've been what I'm about to post also with talking about the respiratory system. So in any case, really fascinating story. I'll keep an eye on it, see if there's anything else that we'll need to add to it. So thank you for watching, guys, and yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.